and salutations, everybody. Vince Plays here, back with another video. And today, guys, we're going to be taking a look at this really horrible video from a channel I actually used to really like. Now, the video is called Stop Normalizing Nazis, a video by Extra Credits. This video is just really horrible. A lot of the points in it are just dumb. And I really wanted to tackle this because something about this video really gets under my skin. And it's something a little bit different, but something I really wanted to do. And it's my first swing at it, so if it's not the best, please bear with me. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this in the future. And yeah, guys, let's take a look. Brace yourselves. Maybe have a shot of vodka or 10.
There you are, playing the PvP in your World War II shooter. And all of a sudden, you're a Nazi. You didn't ask for this. You didn't choose this. Yet there it is. And it's treated no differently than playing a British soldier.
I don't even really think I need to explain what's wrong with this argument, but I will anyway. In a multiplayer shooter, every team is just there for the sake of having sides for the players to fight against. If it's a World War II shooter, naturally the Nazis are going to be a playable team. However, it's not like you're going and doing different objectives based on what your character's team is. You're not going around and capturing, Jewish people because you're playing as a Nazi. It doesn't represent anything. It's literally just a vessel for you to play as.
This is bad on so many levels. No one should ever have a random chance of fighting for the Nazis. And we should never express that there's no meaningful difference between Nazis and Allied soldiers, or that they're functionally interchangeable.
In the context of a multiplayer shooter such as Call of Duty, yes, that's exactly what it means. They're interchangeable because all they stand for is a vessel for the player to occupy to play the multiplayer match.
And before anyone equivocates and says not all German soldiers in World War II were Nazis, if they were wearing the swastika and are functioning as an arm of the Nazi government, then unless the game goes out of its way to tell you specifically that your particular character is not a Nazi, then they're a Nazi. In that multiplayer shooter, when it switched you to the German side, did it go out of its way to tell you that the person you're playing was pressed into service under threat of their life?
It's a multiplayer shooter. Just because you join the match and happen to get the free slot on the Axis team in Call of Duty World War II does not mean that you should have to stop and watch a cutscene where they tell you, oh, well, this guy did not willingly join the Third Reich, he was forced to, and give you a backstory on how he was forced to join the Third Reich. He is literally, that character does not mean anything. Again, it is, I keep saying it, is literally just a vessel for the player to occupy. It does not mean any more or any less than that.
Yeah, that's a big old nope. Oh, and on a similar note, let's please stop forcing people to play as terrorists as well. There you are, playing your modern shooter, and all of a sudden you're a terrorist. You didn't ask for this, you didn't choose this, and yet second verse, same as the first. There it is. I mean, that's literally the name of your side in the game. We can do better than this.
The reference that he made to Counter-Strike is the worst one of them all, I think, specifically because having the terrorist team is literally a part of the gameplay. You could call it whatever you want. You could call it terrorist, Taliban, whatever the hell you want to call it. It's literally crucial to the gameplay that one team is the terrorists that plant the bomb, and then the other team has to defuse the bomb and take out all the terrorists. This is literally the most important part of the Counter-Strike game and what makes it a unique shooter. So that's incredibly stupid. If you take terrorists out of Counter-Strike, it's not even Counter-Strike anymore. You literally ruin the entire game, to be honest.
Even if you put aside all of the people who have had traumatic experiences with these groups, who have lost loved ones to terrorists, or who have had generations of their families wiped out by Nazis, no one should have to put on the costume of an ideology they find abhorrent without actually opting into it in your game.
I'm not doubting that atrocities have happened to people by the hands of terrorists or by Nazis. However, I will again state that this is a work of fiction, and not real. It's not like we're really capturing people in Call of Duty when playing as a Nazi, and it's not like we're killing real people when you play as a terrorist in Counter Strike. It's a video game. It is a work of fiction, and to try to stifle people's creativity by saying, "Oh, you can't tell a World War II story because of Nazis," or you can't make a game like Counter Strike because there's terrorists in it, even though that's crucial to the gameplay of Counter Strike. It's stifling creativity, and people like this that made this video are the reason why we see so much censorship and a lack of originality in gaming these days.
And by making people do so, we get them to stop thinking about it, to stop thinking of the meaning behind these things. We normalize them. We make them just window dressing for entertainment.
As you should, because again, that character does not mean that you're a terrorist or you're a Nazi. It's literally just a vessel for you to occupy for a multiplayer match. You should not think that deeply into the vessel you're occupying in a multiplayer match. It doesn't matter if he has a swastika on his arm or a British flag. It is literally just a vessel for you to play the objective and shoot people in the face. That's it. You should not, does not mean anything or represent the beliefs or ideologies of the people occupying that particular team for one multiplayer match.
Those uniforms, those symbols, become things that no longer inherently revolt us. They reduce our visceral reaction to seeing the embodiment of these ideologies. Now, does this make us totally ignore the history that comes with them? No. But for some people, it moves them from the territory of revolting to just edgy. It makes scrawling a swastika on something change from unthinkable to just dangerous. It means you might not take iron crosses all over a website as a warning sign that you should immediately leave, and if you don't leave, you might start reading and buying into hateful ideas there.
I don't agree with this, particularly because I think everybody should be able to believe in what they want. And this guy's trying to say that, oh, well, if you do this or the other thing, you're wrong. That is not true. While I personally do not agree with the ideologies of Nazis or anything like that, I'm not going to tell people what to do. People will do as they may, good or bad. That's not my call to make. So I find that wrong that some guy thinks that he's perfectly justified in telling people that you should not believe and you should not believe in this, that, or the other thing, or you shouldn't do that because I said so.
It seems like such a small and simple thing, but it's things like this that erode our safeguards against dangers we sacrifice so much to fight. By the time you've played 100 hours of being a Nazi, their voice stabs become memes and in-jokes with your friends. By the 1,000th time you've respawned as a terrorist, you're either celebrating them or making fun of them.
You're either celebrating them or making fun of them. You're either celebrating them or making fun of them.
No, that is not true. I've played an extensive amount of CSGO, and I played an extensive amount of Call of Duty, Battlefield, and other various shooters in my time, and I can safely say that I am indeed not a Nazi from playing those games. I am a perfectly normal human being with normal ideologies, and I'm not rooting for the terrorists in real life because I played them in a video game. And nor am I a racist Nazi because I played as the Axis in a World War II shooter.
Neither of which helps the global crisis we have that takes thousands of lives every year. So what do? That's easy. Don't make them morally equivalent. Don't make there be no in-game moral difference between your Nazis and your allies, between your terrorists and your counter-terrorist squads. Frame PvP as a training exercise, or simply take one of your non-odious sides and recolor them so that it's red versus blue, rather than Axis versus allies.
Okay, again, that's retarded. On the topic of terrorists, again, kind of important to the gameplay of Counter-Strike. It's not like in Call of Duty or Battlefield or whatever, where there's literally no difference between the Axis or the Allies. Even if there was a difference, it doesn't matter. Again, you shouldn't change the gameplay because you find something offensive. It should not stifle the gameplay because you got randomly selected to be on the Axis because that's where there was a free slot. It should be a fair game for everybody. And on Counter-Strike, you can't not have the terrorists as literally one whole team that is trying to do. And it's not morally gray in Counter-Strike. The terrorists are bad. They're planting bombs in the town trying to blow everybody up. Those are not good people that do that. It's not like it's a gray area where it's trying to tell you that terrorists aren't so bad or something. They're obviously in the wrong there, and the counter-terrorists are there to wipe them out and save the day. It's not morally gray. If you got to choose actively which team you were on, that would mean that you would end up having to either wait a lot longer or there would be nobody on one team. You know, if everybody was like, well, I don't want to be a Nazi, I want to be on the Allies team, then there would be nobody to play again. So there'd be like one person who joined the Axis instead of the Allies. So it'd be like 1 versus 8 or something. It would be very imbalanced, and that's incredibly stupid. It doesn't matter what team you're on, is what I'm saying. It's all the same. It doesn't matter. And if you get that wrapped up in it, I would hate to think how life is for you if that's your biggest problem. How triggered you are that you don't have the choice to choose between a Nazi or a British soldier in a World War II game. If that's your biggest problem, I'd hate to imagine what normal things in life do to you.
Good example of a game that does this is Rainbow Six Siege. All of your bomb diffusion and hostage rescue multiplayer with no normalizing terrorists. In fact, by having all of the characters as counter-terrorists, training for a possible threat, it highlights how real and present of a threat that is. And if you decide that you need to have both sides be playable, don't make them interchangeable. Don't have players randomly spawn in as one or the other. Allow players to choose which side they're on. Now, of course, this has all sorts of in-game problems, such as creating shorter wait times for fascists, but you know what? Those wait times could be artificially extended if it meant players had an active choice in what teams they would represent if you're saying we need people playing Nazis in our games. And if you're going to say, but we need it for historical reasons, then your game better actually be historical. You can't really just hide behind the fact you called your desert map El Alamein and say, but it's historical. If that were the case, you need your PvP to at least represent real historical events and be a realistic take on those battles. Once you make both sides balanced, it's also no longer historical. And you can't really say that you need Nazis anymore for historical accuracy.
I find that to be incredibly ridiculous. If I was playing a World War II game, I just got done with the campaign fighting against the various armies that fought in World War II or fighting alongside them. You know, and then I go into the multiplayer, and it's the pink stripes versus the rainbow tide or whatever. That's ridiculous. No, you can just use the armies that fought in World War II. It's not so much for immersion at that point, just so much as it is to be taken seriously.
Oh, and once you let players get cool weapons that weren't actually at that particular battleground, it's also no longer historically accurate. And you can't declare that your game will suffer if you don't put players in the jackboots of the Third Reich. And once your map is something carefully designed to have good gameplay by a team in a room in San Francisco or LA, and it's not a faithful reconstruction of the actual places the historical events occurred in, you can no longer say we need to have players take up arms in service of terror or hate. And look, we're not saying we can't have games about World War II or about terrorism. We're not even saying we shouldn't make games where you play as a Nazi or a terrorist. But what we are saying is that the fact that you're playing as a Nazi or a terrorist in a game has to mean something. And it can't just be a skin. It can't be something that a game randomly drops you into.
No, I'm trying not to jump in too much in this video. This video is going to be long enough as it is, but no, it doesn't have to mean something. It doesn't mean anything. It's literally just a vessel for you to occupy playing the game. It does not have to mean any more or any less than that. You're applying meaning where there is none.
And really, if we are saying anything in this episode, it's this. Games can do better. And in this particular case, it's not even that hard to do better. And it's no more costly to do better. All it requires is that we in the game industry be cognizant of the world around us and what these symbols we're drawing on mean. That we think as we're building, not just about the game we're working on, but about the world as a whole. If we can do that, we can take a big step forward for the industry. We can stop helping to normalize Nazis.
Well, that was cancer. No, we are not normalizing Nazis. People are not going to play as the Nazis in a World War II game and are going to be like, Hitler did nothing wrong. Bull. No. People don't do that. People can tell right from wrong. And like I said, in Counter-Strike, which was the other reference they were using, terrorists are literally crucial to the gameplay, and they are not painted as morally gray or neutral. They are the bad guys. They are planting bombs, trying to blow up the map that you're playing on. They are not the good guys. The counter-terrorists are there to stop them and put an end to it. It is not morally gray. So, this entire video was just an entire waste of time. It's quite frankly just some SJW virtue signaling. And so, that's really where my point lies with this video. What I'm trying to say is, if you get that wrapped up in the details to the point where the skin of the character that you're playing as in a multiplayer shooter, with no personality, no defining characteristics, nothing, just generic soldier number 23 or whatever, if you get that wrapped up in it, that you're like, well, the top of the screen says that I'm a Nazi, so it must be converting people into Hitler sympathizers or something. You really need to take a break, maybe get some rehab or something, or really just reconsider what you've been doing with your life. I mean, I'm not trying to bash, I'm not trying to hate or anything, but this entire video was just a stupid video. So anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry if it was a little longer. Sorry if my responses to what they were saying were a little longer than they should have been. I was trying to do my best, and I hope this video at least does justice to how I feel about this whole thing. So let me know if you want to see more videos like this. If you do, I'll try to refine it more and get better at it in the future. I'll see you guys next video. Until next time, this is Vince Plays, signing off. Peace.